Hello and welcome back to Green Pro. Today we're going to go through our latest tool, which is the solar PV roof design. You'll find this now is one of the options when you select a solar PV tool. So the manual way is the way that we always used to do it. You can still use it this way if you prefer, but this video is going to show you the newest roof design. If you click on roof design first, it'll show you a Google image of the address that you've put in the project. So basically, if you read the blue text on the right, it says, please click the correct property on the map, then click continue to roof design. So I'm going to click this one and then go to continue to roof design. It will just load up the imagery from Google Maps. And then obviously it here says click add to start drawing your first roof section. So if we go to add, and then we start by doing the gutter line first. So click on each of the gutter lines. Gives you your roof section and it'll tell you which way that is facing. This is a southwest facing roof. If you need to though, you can click on the different areas of the compass if you think that it's incorrect. But if you draw the gutter line first, then it should always pretty much give you the correct direction in which this is facing. If you have more than one section of roof that you're going to be adding panels to, then you can name the section. So section 1, section 2, etc. You can also select the pitch. We've given the most popular pitches here, but you can select a custom value if you'd like. And then the orientation is put as what it can tell that it is. You can also adjust the shape if you feel like you've drawn it wonky. I have drawn it wonky here, but for the purposes of the video, we're just going to continue. So if you go to done, if there is a second one, then you can add a second one here. And also with Google Maps, it will try to get the most top down. But if the image of the area isn't that good, which as you can see for this area, it isn't that good, we've got some wonky roofs, then you can click on this button. And what that will do is it will give you the standard Google Maps, but it won't necessarily be a bird's eye top down view. It might be slightly at an angle depending on the quality of the image from Google Maps. So just bear that in mind. If we go to next now, I've got my roof section. It's got all my things. So next I'll go to generate a quick quote. We go to quick quote. What it's done here is it's taken my roof section and it's put all my panels on there. So you can click to remove and then add back in a panel if you think that it's too close to the edge, for example, or if you know that there is a skylight, a chimney, a dormer, anything that might be in the way. For here, you can then select your panel. I'll just select one of these. It will then notice the dimensions have changed because it knows what panel it is. So it's fit on less panels here. And then you can also select your mounting system. You can also select the orientation of the panels. If you wanted them horizontal or vertical, you can make that change here. And then you can also, for the purposes of a quick quote, give what kind of shading might be in that area. I'm going to go with no shading. You can also adjust the margins here as well. So if we go done for that, it's then going to ask you to select your inverter and battery. So I'm going to go for a hybrid inverter and it'll give me the image here. And then also battery, go for that and then save. So then you've got your customer information. So that's what you put in a project. And then it's pulled through all of the equipment that you've just added in there. And then it's going to ask you some questions. What comes after this quick quote? Will it be a full quote? Are you going to go to site first? Or have you got to the point where it's contract signing and installation? I'm going to say that a full quote is going to follow this because this is just an indicative quote, not been to site. I don't know whether the right amount of panels are on there, for example. So whichever one of these that you select, it will give you a different text that will show up on the final PDF. So you see this wording changes each time. So I'm going to go full quote. I want the quick quote disclaimer to be shown. So which will say this has been done with satellite imagery. It's not completely correct. Would you like the equipment specifications to be shown, yes or no? I'm going to select yes for this. And then there's all of these different sections of what's included in the price that you're going to give. Is scaffolding and access included? Panel installation, obviously, generation meter, SES certification, building control. So these are defaulted to yes. These ones are defaulted to no. This is things like repairs to pre-existing electrical or roof defects, planning permission if you're in a conservation area, for example, removal of hazardous materials and so on. You can obviously select any of these to be yes or no. You can also say to be finalised, and you can also opt to not show that particular product or service. So I'll put my price in. Will a loan be used? I'm going to say no. And then there's a couple of questions here. So we probably say home, half day. The MCS average, if you don't know their annual consumption, is 3,500. If you happen to know that, then you can put that in here. If not, make sure you get it ready for the final quote section. You've got your current import cost and your current export cost. These are defaulted to what we believe the averages are, but you can change those if you do know them specifically. And we'll go to save. What it's doing is it's generating my quick quote here. We can download this, and that will open as a PDF. So your PDF will then open. It's got your the project information and how many panels we think we can fit on there, the image of the property, and obviously your company logo. It will then pull in the system size and panel layout that you've just completed on the quick quote, including how many panels we think, what the system capacity will be, pull through the main components that you've selected from the equipment list, and obviously the price that you've given. You can then go down and it'll show you without solar, if you carry on exactly as is, then this is kind of what your annual costs will be. But with solar and battery, this is what you can save, this is what your self-consumption will be, and so on. And it's broken down into these boxes here as well as an estimated payback period. And then your shows and do not shows from before, so what's included and what isn't will be there. If you've chosen to hide any of these, then they won't show at all. Next steps, so your contact details and information, and then the actual product specifications. Because I selected yes, it's pulled through the features and benefits description and any warranty information. These are already pre-built into the solar PV equipment list and battery list. So it'll give you the inverter, the battery, and the panels themselves, and then that will be saved ready for you to email to your customers. Once you've completed the quick quote, you can then move on to do the MCS performance estimate, which is the full quote. So you'd click onto this one next, and it would take you through the shading. So it's already done your panel placement, your inverter and battery selection. So now it's wanting to do the shading. Now I did select no shading on mine, so I'm not going to fill in any panels here. But if you did add shading, you would need to go back to the quick quote and regenerate, because it would then obviously take into account any shading that you've put in if you had selected no shading in the first one. So you can upload an image and put it behind the sun path diagram, or you can just manually fill in the shading. Once you've clicked no shading, take you straight through to the details. So you want to fill in your surveyor details, the survey date. Do you want EPVS calculations? In which case, make sure that you select this as yes. We'll be using battery storage. It's pulled through some of the details from the battery that you've selected in the equipment. And then are you going to be using only self-consumption, no self-consumption, or both? I'm going to say that 3 kilowatts will be used for self-consumption. Then the occupancy archetypes. Do you have any other electric space heating? This is exactly like the current PV tool that we have, so you should be familiar with these questions. And then you can fill in, obviously, the correct 12 months readings as well, if you have them. It calculates your export and savings, gives you the smart export information. So I'm going to put PV only, but PV with battery. Save this, and then it generates your documents as it would have done in the old system. You can finish this. Then it'll allow you to go through to EPVS calculations, where you can put in any sort of information for this. Do I want to factor in replacement costs? Yes or no? And will a loan be used to pay for the installation? No. And then it will give you your EPVS breakdown of all the years and what the savings will be. So it did say that it would be a 6-year payback period. And then obviously the profit starts to kick in year 7. So that is all correct. And then you finish that. Once you've completed that, you can then go through to your full quote, which will pull through all the information that you've already included. So what comes after this quote? I'm going to say contract signing. I want the quote to be valid for 30 days. Should the equipment selections be shown? I'm going to say yes. All of these should have saved from your quick quote, and then you need to put in your parts and labour. I want to show the payment schedule, yes. And then this is very similar to the heat pump, so I want to put in that I want a deposit of 25%, and that's going to be due 2 weeks' time, say, and then you can add the balance or any other advanced staged payments, but it will calculate the amounts for you. And then you can make sure that this is all correct. Do you want to show the appendices? Yes, I do. That's if you've generated all your PDFs. So make sure that you've generated the full performance estimate and so on for them to show. I didn't do that for the purposes of this video, but if you have generated all your PDFs, as you would have done in the previous tool, you'll be able to include them here. What that will then do is generate your full quote. And this is something you'll then be able to attach into Easy MCS projects and get that sent through to the customer as part of the proposal package. So when you download this, it will open as a PDF separately for you to view. So then the full quote will generate, and as you can see, it's pulled through basically exactly the same as the quick quote. So it's got your project information, the image, your company logo, system size and panel layout as you've put in the quick quote, the main components you've selected and the price. Then goes through to the estimated system performance as before, and also the included and not included parts of the actual project itself, next steps, and the product specifications. But then if you keep going, it includes the pricing breakdown. So parts and labour, as is indicated by your consumer code that needs to be included, and the payment schedule if you've added any. So if you're taking a deposit, any advance payments, then what they are, the due dates, the percentage and the amounts will be included there. We also then have our shading analysis. So it has the explainer of what shading is and does, and the actual shading chart. If you have selected shading, obviously it will show and it will give you the percentage of that shading. And then I generated my appendices to make sure that this downloaded correctly. But if you have generated and then included your appendices, it will include the full design calculations and also the EPVS calculations that I did, so the financial breakdown and all of the year by year cost savings and so on. So that's all included, and then you can send that off to your customers. So once you've gone through that and you've saved it, ready to send to the customer, you can finish. And then your full solar PV tool is complete. All of these sections have been completed. You've generated documents for each one. Coming soon, as you can see up here, are structural calculations. We're working very hard behind the scenes to get those ready for you. But this is the solar PV tool in its entirety currently. It is available to use. It's free to use. If you have any questions at all, then please do contact your consultant. And if you have any feedback or anything else that you'd like to see, then just let us know. Thanks very much for watching.